Hello, welcome back to 25 Days of Drams. We're on to day 7. 25 Days of Drams is the Dram Team's Advent giveaway and feature where we're going to be talking to you about a different dram in our calendar until Christmas Day. We're going to give you the chance to win all of the miniatures in this calendar and send them out to the lucky winner for Christmas. And we're going to ask you to give us your thoughts on Advent calendars and what you'd like to see in one that we will make for next year. Here at the Dram Team, that is what we do. We are specialists in putting great whiskey into miniature bottles. So an Advent calendar is a natural product for us to make, but we want to make sure we do one that people really want. So get involved. There's a chance to win everything in this calendar, and you can tell us what you want to see next year for your very own Advent calendar, so we can drink that one together. Right, so day 7, we're on to something a little bit different now. So far, day 6. And before that, we did sherry cask whiskies, which were from our Christmas curation of Very Sherry Whiskymas. That is already on sale and going out to our lucky subscribers just after the 15th December. So day 7 is the first departure from that box. Let's see what we've got in store. We have got Tullamore D.E.W. This is their special reserve 12-year-old, and that is a blended Irish whiskey for you that don't know the Tullamore D.E.W. brand. So, little bit of a Dram Team history of this whiskey. So the Dram Team does a monthly box, as you probably know. We curate each one around a theme. This box, or rather the box this whiskey came from, dates back to August 2017. And of all the Drams in this calendar, that is the one that goes furthest back into our archives. And back then, we were sending out a little plain A4 letter like this with our boxes. We've upgraded to putting our little whiskey factoids onto the tasting cards now. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about the theme. I'm going to read a paragraph from the letter here. And then actually I'm going to pass on to our longest standing subscriber who's been with us since month 1. His name is Vin PF and he runs a YouTube whiskey review channel called No Nonsense Whiskey. So Vin's going to do his own little review after this. But first I'll tell you about the theme and I'll read you an excerpt from that theme's letter. So the theme was Love Thy Neighbour. And Love Thy Neighbour was a comparison of 3 scotches with 3 world whiskies, which we paired with the Scotch whiskies. One was Irish, one was Welsh, one was English. Tullamore D.E.W. was the Irish one in that box, and we compared it with Auchentoshan's Virgin Oak. So, let's see what we said about it. The common genetic thread between these distant cousins is triple distillation. Standard practice for Irish whiskey, but rare for Scotch. The Tullamore D.E.W. blends all 3 types of Irish whiskey, that's pot still, malt and golden grain, and it is aged in both bourbon and sherry casks. Now, that's what we said there. I will just tell you a little bit about the flavour before we move on to Vin's review shortly. And I'm only going to do that because I'm being self-indulgent and I absolutely love this whiskey. In general, I love Irish whiskey, but this one is a standout for me. Yep, I remember this because we wrote on our tasting card that it smelled like cracking open the top of a creme brulee, and that is exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting brown sugars, I'm getting vanilla. Yes, very nice. Let's taste it as well. And all of that's still there on the palate, but with a freshness and some honey as well. That freshness is very typical, a sort of grassy freshness of Irish whiskey, as is that caramel and vanilla. It is lovely, very drinkable, great dram. I look forward to hearing what Vin's got to say about it in his review, but for now, I'm going to leave you and I will see you again tomorrow for day 8, where we might just have another special guest. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Chris. Hi everyone, I'm Vin PF of No Nonsense Whiskey. If you haven't heard of my channel, do check out my YouTube channel. It's No Nonsense Whiskey. I cover all kinds of whiskies from all over the world, and I cover a lot of whiskies that I get from my Dram Team subscription. As Chris said, I've been one of their longest standing subscribers, I think since August 2016 or something like that. Absolutely horrendous amounts of time. And this dram here, I've had in my collection now since August 2017. So I've just poured out this a little while ago, but I've had this sat on my shelf with my other samples. I can't get through them all, unfortunately. There's quite a lot to do. But this is an absolutely brilliant thing to start on because I'm very, very guilty of not covering Irish whiskey enough. So let's get into it, shall we? I won't go into it too much because Chris did a wonderful job of introing it, but we'll get straight into my thoughts on it and see what's in the glass. Now, oh, this thing's got an amazing nose. Now, this interesting thing about Irish whiskey is that most of it, not all of it, but most of it's triple distilled, and I think that gives it a kind of really nice, well-rounded, creamy flavour to it's like really indicative of Irish whiskey. But this has got an incredible nose. It's got sweetness to it, almost a florally note there as well, and bags of kind of red wine and more sweetness, kind of honeyed and caramels, things like that. It's so complex. There's so much going on. Let's try on the palate. Yeah, huge juicy flavour there. Massive hit of juice. It's got a lot of spices. Very fruity as well, but it's not like a kind of ripe fruit flavour. It's more like a dried fruit. You know, we're talking like raisins and little sultanas and things like that. And the finish is absolutely huge. I have to say, when I first saw this whiskey, 40% selling for roughly £55 at the moment, I thought, blimey, and it's a blended as well, which, you know, does get a bad rap, quite wrongly as well, quite wrongly. But all of those things put together made me think, oh, that's very expensive for this. But let me tell you, having tried it, really, really fabulous whiskey. Again, my initial thoughts were like, the standard Tullamore D.E.W is so cheap in comparison, and this is only just 12 years aged. Massive, massive leap in price. But I really do think it's worth it, and that for me is the kind of real the real beauty of a subscription service like this, where you get to try stuff you wouldn't ordinarily buy. You might skirt past it on the shelf and think, actually, I don't want to try that. It's 40%, it's £55, it's blended, not really that into blends, whatever. And I now have to try it, and it's broken through that, so absolutely brilliant. But thanks again to Chris for inviting me on to do this part of his advent calendar. Make sure you check out the Dram team on all their different channels. I'm sure there'll be links in the description below. And of course, have a Merry Christmas from me at No Nonsense Whiskey.